Okay, welcome back to our program here on Inside Bicol, and my guest for tonight is Professor Danny Gerona. Professor, let's talk about other economic activities that the Bicol was involved during. I understand that there were a lot of abaca here. Can you tell us, ano bang mga findings mo dyan tungkol sa abaca?
Yeah, actually, Fred, the abaca industry was actually a sequel of the galleon trade. But it's quite ironical that the abaca industry was born only after the demise of the galleon trade. Surprisingly, in fact, the galleon trade paved the way for the birth of the abaca. You have to understand it also that there's a certain negative aspect in the galleon trade, Fred. If you look at it economically, the reason is because the galleon trade is dependent on foreign commodities.
Okay.
So there were very, very little demand on local products from the Philippines. So in Europe. So the Europeans were actually more interested with Chinese goods, and even before, in as early as 1500, Fred, the Chinese silk was among the most prized item in Europe. So much of the galleon cargo were actually imported goods from Southeast Asian countries, from Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, and China. So the goods coming from the Philippines were actually marginalized. There were some few of them, for example, civet cats. Civet cats is a prized item in Europe, especially one of the best sources of civet cats was
What is that?
Wild cat,
I see.
yang alamid.
Oh, I
And
see.
what is interesting, Fred, is one of the best sources of alamid in the galleon cargo was actually buhi. Buhi, yeah, buhi. Maraming alamid dyan sa buhi, Pulangi area and mountains. They were actually catching lots of them. And the reason why alamid or civet cat is important is because of the oil, musk.
Oil.
They were using that to produce perfume.
Really?
Yeah. Kaya it's actually a monopoly item. Nobody is supposed to catch alamid among the Indians. If you are caught catching them, you will be in prison.
Really?
Yeah, very, very important. And also, yung fur kang civet cat was used for jackets of the Spaniards.
It must be big. You know?
Big. It requires so much quantity of civet cats to produce musk oil and at the same time jackets or sweaters. So that's why it's important. Pero as I said, there was a downside in the galleon trade. It marginalized local industry. So because of the fact that the Spanish colonial administrators were bent on producing foreign goods for the cargo. So for this reason, we were required to produce even plants that are not endemic in the Philippines, to produce them for the galleon purposes. For example, tobacco is not endemic in the Philippines, but we were required to produce them and discouraged to produce rice. So much of these rice lands were converted into tobacco because tobacco has an international demand and rice does not have. So what is the effect of that economically? The Philippine economy languished. Because it was only dependent on galleon commodity. So kaya by 1815, Fred, when Mexico already secured independence, and remember Acapulco was in Mexico, it was the transit, it was actually the terminus of the Manila-Acapulco galleon. Therefore, there was no more terminal for the galleon. So the galleon trade ended. But by 1815, Fred, the local Spanish communities here were not actually have a wonder as to how they will support the colonial government because there was no more money. And they realized that there is a need to develop our local industries. So that's how rice, and that's also rice in the Bicol region, sugar in the Visayas, eventually become an industrial commodity. And of course, we have abaca in Albay. Because of this spread, because of the collapse of the galleon trade, we began developing our local industries. And as I said, abaca became an international commodity because of this. So from 1865 until 1925, Albay is one of the richest provinces, if not the richest province in the entire Philippines. Really good. I look at the demographic records, I look at the income, one of the richest. In fact, that explains to you why many foreigners trooped to Albay. British, German, French, Americans, Portuguese, Spaniards, because of the booming abaca industry.
Kaya pala maraming mistiso dyan.
Maraming mistiso. And not only that, maraming institutions. Yung Cámara de Comercio, yung first Chamber of Commerce, among the earliest Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines in Albay, because of these foreigners organizing themselves into such kind of a commercial body. Kaya dyan nagyaman ng Maripred ang Albay. And that explains to you, Fred, na ang spillover kaniyon Camarines Sur. For example, Tigawon, halaka mo dyan, Fred, Tigawon, ang Partido District was actually part of Albay until 1846. And that explains why Tigawon produced Abaca because of the connection with Albay. It's not Camarines Sur. So, dyan nagyaman ng Maripred ang mga lugar na iniyo. Kaya kaigo dyan, mga mall, ang mga Spaniards, mga Garchitorena, came over because of this spillover kaniyong economic activity kan Albay. And until 1925, Fred, grabe ang yaman. In fact, by 1859, na-reinforce pa ang importance kang Albay sa global economic map because of the opening of one of the earliest international ports in the Philippines was opened in Legazpi. That is also why Legazpi eventually became a city because Legazpi has a tardy development as an urban area. It only developed by 1860s because of the booming Abaca industry. By 1925, mayamanan pang Albay until 1925. The reason why Albay's economy collapsed was because America realized that it's very, very expensive to import Abaca. So they developed a synthetic nylon fiber. Dumana pa rin nag-collapse ang Abaca. Yeah.
And another thing, yung Balchi disease, di ba?
Yeah.
Karoon din ng disease dyan. So, looking into it, it seems that before, Bicol was really progressive.
Very progressive.
Na ano dyan. So, dyan natin nakita na itong celebration ng Spanish and Philippine Friendship Day. There's something to...
That's right. Something that you should treasure in a way. We have always harped on the ugly side of this Philippine-Spanish relationship. You always look at the evils of Spanish colonization, but you have to look at them in the context. For example, much of the criticism against Spain was spawned by the writings of the propagandistas, Rizal and the other nationalists. But you have to look at them that they are looking at the event in a narrow perspective with a certain prejudiced agenda because of the fact that they wanted to sever from Spain because of patriotism. But you have to look at them this time. That's the reason why, Fred, we need historians. Because historians look at the event not only on a micro level, but on a macro level. We can have a historian here who would be writing about Naga. Pero ang paggiling na kayo, sa iyang worldview, sa iyang prejudice, sa iyang kinaaban. Pero ang historian compares data from other places. Kaya nga, history is a science, Fred. It's not just a whimsical enterprise of someone who is interested in traveling back in time. But history is a science. It requires certain knowledge of a certain theoretical framework, methodology, reading the context of the documents. That's because we have to correct history.
I think that's why it's related that I understand itong Santa Isabel is one of the...
That's right, Fred. Yeah, sarap pa Marian, Fred, that you bring that up.
Okay.
We are also we'll be celebrating also the 150th year of the Colegio de Santa Isabel, known earlier on as the Escuela Normal de Primera Enseñanza. It's Escuela Normal, it doesn't mean to say there are Escuela de Abnormal. Escuela Normal actually means normal, is normative. Okay. It means it's a school for teachers. In fact, Fred, it's the first school for teachers, were women teachers in the entire Southeast Asia.
Okay.
So, pinakainot ni Fred.
Santa
Isabel, in Naga, much earlier than the Santa Isabel in Manila.
Yeah.
Manila opened 10 years after the Santa Isabel and borrowed much of the idea of Bishop Gainsa. Ang reason ka ni Fred is because we have a very, very brilliant bishop, Bishop Gainsa, versatile genius, who realized the importance of opening a school for teachers because we do not have professional teachers at that time, and especially women. Kaya pig-open niya yung Colegio de Santa Isabel. And we will be celebrating that this coming year, next year, 1868, April of 1868. We will be, because that was the year it was open. So we'll be celebrating that in Santa Isabel. And we should also rejoice with this celebration. It again tells us that Bicol is an important part of the colonial history, not only in the region, but in the entire Philippines.
Right. No.
Kaya, part yan siguro kanilang event kang Philippine-Spanish Friendship Day that we will be celebrating comes this June.
Okay. So, sayang inabot na naman tayo ng oras, but I think it was a very fruitful discussion. We've learned a lot. Uh, anyway, we will have again another edition when after this particular episode, and I'm sure that you will learn a lot again from Professor Gerona. So with that, we'd like to thank Professor Gerona here for giving us this opportunity, and we'd like to thank also all of you there watching. Alam mo, we have really to look back because a lot of things that data aram only from having some people talagang historian that we learn a lot of things. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.